Hi everyone, I'm Donnalouise and welcome to my YouTube channel for the love of puzzles. Today I continue working on Educa's 42,000 piece around the world jigsaw puzzle. I've already done an unboxing and I finished the first bag of 6,000 pieces, as well as I did just over 12 hours of work already on the second bag. I'll leave links to all those videos in the description below. So the second bag that we're working on, this jigsaw puzzle is divided up into 7 bags of 6,000 pieces each. This is the second bag, so the section I'm working on today. I'm hoping to get, a good number of hours work, closer to 15. I've just been really busy, so if necessary, this may end up being 4 videos rather than 3, but we'll see how much I can get done. I can't wait to learn about some of these landmarks. Luckily, it comes with this booklet. Landmarks are numbered. I'll do some research, and during the time lapse, we'll discuss the items that I'm building. Also, I'll be using my 2 camera views. Now, sometimes I've had the close-up, sometimes I've had the wide angle, sometimes I've had both. I do realize they may not perfectly sync up. I apologize for that, but hopefully you'll enjoy. But yeah, that's about it. We're just gonna get cracking and see how far we can get going. The big jigsaw puzzle display is going great. That's why I still don't have my beautiful map on the wall. In fact, I had a radio interview. They saw the article that was published in the local newspaper and they rang me up and we had a quick chat. So I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to listen to that short radio interview. We got cut short because I was the last guest of the evening before the news, so they've asked me to call back like at the end of August, beginning of September, so we can chat about speed puzzling and the competition in Spain. So I'll definitely ring them back up and we'll have another chat on the radio again. So that was with Radio New Zealand, and I just want to thank them so much for reaching out. I really appreciate it. But for now, and for the love of puzzles, let's keep working on the second bag of 6,000 pieces of Educa's Around the World Jigsaw Puzzle. I started working on the Central Park sign, and Central Park is an urban park in New York City of the United States. It's located between the Upper West and Upper East sides of Manhattan. It's actually the 5th largest park in the city. I thought it would have been the largest park in New York City, but no, there's 4 more that are larger. Central Park covers about 843 acres, which is about 3.41 square kilometers. It's the most visited urban park in the United States, with an estimated 42 million visitors annually as of 2016. And according to Wikipedia, it's like the most filmed location in the world. I don't know if that's true or not. Underneath the Central Park sign is a Checker taxi, and they were a dominant taxicab company and national franchisor that was based in Chicago, Illinois. The Checker cab was and remains an abiding symbol of New York City's enduring mystique, even decades after production ceased on the classic Checker cab back in 1982. Now in New York City, taxicabs come in 2 varieties, yellow and green. The ones that are painted yellow are able to pick up passengers anywhere in the 5 boroughs, and those that are painted apple green, get it, for the Big Apple, New York, they began to appear in August of 2013, by the way, and they're allowed to pick up passengers in Upper Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, but excluding the airports, and Staten Island. So yeah, there you go, Checker taxis. You can actually still hire them for wedding events. There's a private company that will hire out Checker taxis. I'm working on some signs now. There's the Bourbon Street sign, which is a historic street in the heart of the French Quarter of New Orleans in Louisiana of the United States, as well as the Rio sign. Very colorful, very nice. The signs are a lot of fun to do. They just break things up. And now the Washington, D.C. sign. Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, D.C. for District of Columbia. It is not a state, and not to be mixed up with the state of Washington, which is all the way over on the West Coast. Here I am starting to build Chichen Itza. I knew I was going to mispronounce that. I practiced it too. Chichen Itza. It was a large pre-Columbian city built by the Maya people of the Terminal Classic period. Now, the archaeological site is located in Tinum municipality in the Yucatan state of Mexico. The Maya name Chichen Itza means at the mouth of the well of the Itza. Now, it was likely to have been one of the mythical great cities referred to in later Mesoamerican literature. The city may have had the most diverse population in the Maya world, a factor that could have contributed to the variety of architectural styles at the site. The ruins of Chichen Itza are federal property, and the site stewardship is maintained by Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History. The land under the monuments had been privately owned until the 29th of March 2010, but then it was purchased by the state of Yucatan. Chichen Itza is one of the most visited archaeological sites in Mexico, with over 2.6 million tourists as of 2017. I believe depicted in the Jigsaw puzzle is the Temple of Kukulkan. Probably mispronouncing that, sorry. Kukulkan, which is the most famous of the buildings at the archaeological site. And I actually have been to Chichen Itza, and I've seen this temple and the pyramid. The temple, I believe, is the part they consider at the top, and the base is like the pyramid. I could be wrong on that, but I visited this site years ago. Goodness, now, probably mid-2000s. Went on a girls' trip with a friend, taking a break from work. It was quite interesting to be down in Mexico for the first time. So yeah, let's just finish watching me build the rest of Chichen Itza. Let's just talk about that upper border. Once again, I am having the worst trouble trying to do the edge pieces, the border. The false fits, the color is the same. Of course, the cut of the pieces repeats itself. And I did really well at the base, the bottom part, because there was a lot of detail and a lot of things happening. But this top section was just so difficult because it's all really blues and dark blues. There's a little coloration at the start because there's some clouds and there's a rainbow, but then after that you're just gonna watch me struggle here, trying piece after piece, section after section, and then they just start repeating themselves. I do worry when this section is done, I'll stand back and I'll look at it and I'll go, I think I have something wrong. So I moved on and I started working on the Washington Monument a little bit. I'll talk more about that in a moment. I was finishing off the building from the previous section, that bright blue building that borders the bag 1 and bag 2. But what I'm mostly concentrating on in this section, where you can see the Wall Street sign, this section is very New York City dominant. Well, it's very United States dominant, but even more so New York City dominant. But the building that is behind the Wall Street sign there is the United Nations Secretariat building. It's a skyscraper within the headquarters of the United Nations in the Turtle Bay neighborhood of Manhattan, again in New York City. The building, designed in the international style, is 505 feet tall or 154 meters, and it has 39 above ground stories. It was designed by a group of architects led by Wallace Harrison. Now, although the building is located within the United States, The site is under UN jurisdiction, so the building is exempt from some local regulations. Now, I mentioned this international style. It's a major architectural style that was developed in the 1920s and 1930s and was closely related to modernism and modernistic architecture. I really liked it, how it was depicted in the jigsaw puzzle here, because it was easy to build. It had like the reflection of the sun, so you can see how it goes from like orange to yellow to almost white, and then blue and to the darker colors. So this was a fun building to build, as opposed to the Washington Monument, which is right next to it. Now, the Washington Monument is a hollow Egyptian-style stone obelisk with a 500-foot or 152.4-meter tall column surmounted by a 55-foot or 16.8-meter tall, now I'm going to mispronounce this, pyramidion. So it's like the little pyramid on top of the column, on top of the obelisk. It's located on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., and was built to commemorate George Washington, one of the founding fathers of the United States and the first American president. His term was from 1789 to 1797. Construction of this presidential memorial began in 1848, but was suspended from 1854 to 1877 due to funding challenges, a struggle for control over the Washington National Monument Society, and the American Civil War. Now, the stone structure was completed in 1884, and the internal ironwork, known as the knoll, and installation of memorial stones, all that was completed in 1888. You can see a difference in the shading of the marble. It's visible at about 150 feet or 46 meters up. That shows where construction was halted and later resumed with marble from a different source. The original design was by Robert Mills from South Carolina, but construction omitted his proposed colonnade for lack of funds, and it proceeded instead with just the bare obelisk. The completed monument was dedicated on February 21st, 1885, and opened to the public on October 9th, 1888. I'm just finishing building up the Yellowstone National Park sign here, which is located in the western United States, largely in the northwest corner of Wyoming, and it extends into Montana and Idaho. As well as I'm building the male deer known as a buck. In Yellowstone, they have two types of deer. The mule deer, I don't know how to pronounce this, M-U-L-E. This should be an easy word, but I cannot figure out mole. I'm going to say mule deer, and also the white-tailed deer. Oh my goodness, English is lacking me today. Now, I've moved on to the upper three skyscrapers that appear at the top of this section of the jigsaw puzzle. The first is the Willis Tower in Chicago, Illinois, again of the United States, formerly known as the Sears Tower. I did not realize it had changed its name. It's a 110-story building in the heart of Chicago's downtown, and it's impossible to miss within the Chicago skyline. It's 1,451 feet tall, or about 442 meters, and it opened in 1973, and at the time was the world's tallest building, a title that it had held for nearly 25 years. It is the third tallest building in the Western Hemisphere, as well as the 23rd tallest building in the world today. Each year, more than 1.7 million people visit the Sky Deck observation deck. It's called the Sky Deck, and the highest in the United States, making it one of Chicago's most popular tourist destinations. And I have been up. At the time, it was called the Sears Tower. I forgot to include that it was basically sold, I forget which year, and bought by the Willis Group, and that's why it was renamed the Willis Tower. In the 2000s, in the years 2000, I just can't remember when. I'm now moving on to the One World Trade Center. The Jigsaw Puzzle booklet calls it out as the World Peace Tower, but no, it is actually known as One World Trade Center, also as just One World Trade or One WTC, and formerly it had the nickname of the Freedom Tower. It's the main building of the rebuilt World Trade Center complex in Lower Manhattan in the United States. It is the tallest building in the United States, the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere, and the 7th tallest building in the world. This super tall structure has the same name as the North Tower of the original World Trade Center, which was, as many of us remember, destroyed during those terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001. One World Trade Center has 94 stories, with the top floor numbered 104. So I don't know how it has 94 stories but 104 floors. That's interesting. The building was opened on November 3rd, 2014, and the One World Observatory opened on May 29th, 2015. I've now moved on to building the Empire State Building, also located in New York City, and it's 102 stories tall. It's an Art Deco skyscraper in Midtown Manhattan. The building was built from 1930 to 1931, and its name is derived from Empire State, the nickname for the state of New York. The building has a roof height of 1,250 feet or 380 meters, and it stands a total of 1,452 feet or nearly 443 meters tall, including its antenna. The Empire State Building was the world's tallest building until the first tower of the World Trade Center was built and topped it. That was back in 1970. Now, following those attacks on September 11th, the Empire State Building was then, again, New York's tallest building until it was surpassed in 2012. Now, as of 2022, the building is the 7th tallest building in New York City, the 9th tallest completed skyscraper in the United States, and the 54th tallest building in the world. Who keeps track of all this? Seriously. And it says it's the 6th tallest freestanding structure in the Americas. Goodness. I mean, that's quite a database of like buildings and heights and who's taller. On March 2nd, 1933, New York City's film audiences saw King Kong climb the Empire State Building for the very first time. Now you see me working a bit on pieces of the sky and some mountains that blend into the sky. To the Statue of Liberty, that's what we have now. It's a colossal neoclassical sculpture on Liberty Island in New York Harbor, again in New York City of the United States. How many landmarks are from New York City in this section of the Jigsaw puzzle? My goodness, I wonder if Adrian Chesterman was from the United States. I have no idea. Now, the copper statue, a gift from the people of France, was designed by French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, and its metal framework was built by Gustave Eiffel. Yes, best known for his work, the Eiffel Tower. The statue is a figure of Libertas, the Roman goddess of liberty. She holds a torch above her head with her right hand, and her left hand carries a tabula ansata inscribed July 4th, 1776 in Roman numerals, the date of the U.S. Declaration of Independence. A broken chain and shackle lie at her feet as she walks forward, commemorating the national abolition of slavery following the American Civil War. After its dedication on October 28, 1886, the statue became an icon of freedom and of the United States, seen as a symbol of welcome to immigrants arriving by sea. The statue was built in France, shipped overseas in crates, and assembled on the completed pedestal on what was then called Bedloes Island. The French financed the statue, and the United States provided the site and built the pedestal. Now, the statue's completion was marked by New York's first ticker tape parade and a dedication ceremony presided over by then President Grover Cleveland. This led me down a rabbit hole. What do they mean by ticker tape parade? Well, a ticker tape parade is a parade event held in an urban setting characterized by large amounts of shredded paper thrown onto the parade route from the surrounding buildings, creating a celebratory flurry of paper. Originally, actual ticker tape was used, but now mostly confetti is substituted. So I was like, well, what's ticker tape? Like, I've heard it, but what exactly is it? So Ticker tape was the earliest electrical dedicated financial communications medium, transmitting stock prices, information over telegraph lines. It was in use from around 1870 through 1970, and it consisted of a paper strip that ran through a machine called a stock ticker. Of course, when I read this, I was like, oh, okay, yes, I know what this is now. We've seen them in movies and whatnot. And the stock ticker printed abbreviated company names as alphabetic symbols followed by numeric stock transaction prices and volume information. The term ticker came from the sound that the machine made as it printed. So in those early days, those ticker tape parades actually used that paper, shred it all up, and people threw it out from their windows. So I'm working on the base of the Statue of Liberty now. I'll let you watch this part of the jigsaw puzzle and we'll come back and chat some more in a little bit. So I'm working on the mountains here, and these are the Andes Mountains. They are the longest continental mountain range in the world, forming a continuous highland along the western edge of South America. The range is 8,900 kilometers long, or 5,530 miles, and its width ranges from 200 to 700 kilometers, or 124 to 435 miles. It has an average height of about 4,000 meters, or 13,123 feet. The Andes extend from north to south through 7 South American countries: Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. I'm also working on the mountain you can see in between those two skyscrapers, and that's the Grand Teton mountain in Wyoming. It's about 13,775 feet, or nearly 4,200 meters, and is the highest point of the Teton Range, and the second highest peak in the U.S. state of Wyoming after Gannett Peak. How come I cannot pronounce anything tonight? Grand Teton, Grand Teton. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I've heard it pronounced 50 million times, and no matter what, I am not going to get it right. If you're still listening to this, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'm sorry for all the mispronunciations, but it is past 11 o'clock at night and I'm trying to get the voiceover work done so I can get this video released in time. But I found it fun to work on the mountains just because it was something a little bit different, but still quite tricky, the whites and the blues. I really like doing the edge, the border, transitional pieces between the mountain and the sky, because the sky there was nice, bright, and kind of orangey yellow, so that was nice. And the reason why the mountains kind of split in two is because in the next video you'll see Christ the Redeemer statue being built with the Andes Mountains in the background. So I come back to work on the Washington Monument, and let's just say I was having so much trouble because I knew where the bird connected. I did. There's a little bird there, but I couldn't get it to connect. I had a false fit somewhere. So I decided to work on the gray part of the Washington Monument, and I managed to get all those pieces in. So I thought, well, that's all correct. Where's my mistake? And then I realized it's along that border edge, the greenery. I had pieces in the wrong place. I had 2 pieces at the bottom that went at the top and 1 piece from the top that went on the bottom. But when I looked and looked and looked, I just couldn't see it. It is so tricky. There's so many false fits potential in this jigsaw puzzle. In the sky, in repeating patterns, in the greenery. I'm working on the rest of the space shuttle here, its little blast-off plume. That was a little nice distraction to do for a little bit. Cape Canaveral. I've never been to Cape Canaveral. I've never seen a shuttle launch in person. And aren't they doing another personed shuttle launch in the coming years? I believe they're going back to the moon, if I'm not mistaken. And there's American, I believe there's a Canadian astronaut that will be on board. I hope I have that correct. I'm just talking now without making any sense. I've gone back to working on all the kind of orangey, yellowy pieces, and I managed to find homes for most of them. Next, we see the Lincoln Memorial, and it's a U.S. national memorial built to honor the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. In the jigsaw puzzle, we just see the Lincoln statue that's inside the memorial building. It's on the western end of the National Mall in Washington, D.C., across from the Washington Monument, and it's in the form of a neoclassical temple. The memorial's architect was Henry Bacon. The designer of the memorial's interior's large central statue, the one we see here, was Daniel Chester French. The Lincoln statue itself was carved by the Picirilli brothers, hopefully I've said that correctly, and the painter of the interior murals was Jules Guérin, and the epitaph above the statue was written by royal courtesans. It was dedicated in May 1922, and it's one of several memorials built to honor an American president. It has always been a major tourist attraction, and since the 1930s has sometimes been a symbolic center focused on race relations. An urban legend holds that the face of General Robert E. Lee is carved onto the back of Lincoln's head and looks back across the Potomac towards his former home, Arlington House. Another popular legend is that Lincoln's hands are shown using sign language to represent his initials, his left hand signing an A and his right signing an L. The National Park Service denies both these legends. However, historian Gerard Prokopowicz, sorry, probably mispronounced that one as well, writes that while it is not clear that sculptor Daniel Chester French intended Lincoln's hands to be formed into sign language versions of his initials, it is possible that French did intend it, because he was familiar with American Sign Language, and he would have had a reason to do so, that is, to pay tribute to Lincoln having signed the federal legislation giving Gallaudet University, which is a university for the deaf, the authority to grant college degrees. The National Geographic Society's publication, entitled Pinpointing the Past in Washington, D.C., states that Daniel Chester French had a son who was deaf, and that the sculptor was familiar with sign language. Historian James A. Percoco has observed that although there are no extant documents showing that French had Lincoln's hands carved to represent the letters A and L in American Sign Language, he wrote, "I think you can conclude that it's reasonable to have that kind of summation about the hands." I then finished by working on the lower right-hand corner of the jigsaw puzzle. You can see a jukebox, a baseball bat, a glove with a baseball inside, but also you see the Liberty Bell, previously called the State House Bell or Old State House Bell, and it's an iconic symbol of American independence. It's located in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania of the United States. Originally placed in the steeple of the Pennsylvania State House, now renamed Independence Hall, the bell today is located across the street in the Liberty Bell Center. The bell was commissioned in 1752 by the Pennsylvania Provincial Assembly from the London firm of Lester and Pack, now known subsequently as the Whitechapel Bell Foundry. And it was cast with the lettering, "Proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof," a biblical reference from the book of Leviticus 25:10. The bell first cracked when rung after its arrival in Philadelphia. That would have been just gutting, wouldn't it? Oh my goodness. It was then twice recast by local workmen, John Pass and John Stowe, whose last names appear on the bell. In its early years, the bell was used to summon lawmakers to legislative sessions and to alert citizens about public meetings and proclamations. While there is no contemporary account of the Liberty Bell being rung, most historians do believe that it did ring on July 8th to mark the reading of the United States Declaration of Independence. After American independence was secured, the bell fell into relative obscurity until, in the 1830s, the bell was adopted as a symbol by abolitionist societies, who dubbed it the Liberty Bell. I continued to work a bit on what I now know are the Easter Island heads from Chile, but I'll talk about them more in the next section, in the next video, because I really didn't get a lot built. I was just getting a bit tired, and for some reason all the browns and white pieces were just all blending together and nothing was really standing out. So I figured I had puzzled enough for now and I needed a little break. And there you go. That's how much I got done in this section. So this is where I'm going to stop for today. It's been 13 hours worth of work. I was, let me move the poster. This is again the poster, the image of the section we're doing. Now, I was working down in this corner down here, and I know that's the Liberty Bell. That's just a jukebox, a bat, and a baseball glove and a baseball. We have some wolves. I don't actually know the name of these figures, so perhaps during the post-processing I've already mentioned it, or maybe I'll mention it next time. But it's just a lot of browns and yellow pieces, and I found some pieces that belong elsewhere. However, I think I've done pretty well. 13 hours. It's so difficult to get a really good overhead shot. I don't have a camera mounted on the ceiling. I will say that I had issues with the Washington Monument simply because I had a false fit on this edge section in the greenery. I had two pieces here that belonged up there and one piece that belonged down here, and I was trying to connect this bird and it wasn't working. But I got most of it done apart from the white, which is probably sorted. There's some pieces there, probably sorted with some monument or sky. This is my pile of unknown pieces. These are my pile of pieces on the edge there that I found that go other places. I'll move them, but I've mostly concentrated on the bottom part of the puzzle. I think I did quite well, so another 13 hours. So let me check my time just to make sure. I think it was 13 hours. Yeah, 12 hours and 58 minutes, pretty much exactly. So let's say 13 hours, and I previously did 12 hours and 20 minutes. So 25 hours and 20 minutes. Is that correct? 13 plus 12, 25, 20. Yeah, I'm so tired. I did a lot of the skyscrapers and some of the sky, a bit of these mountains up here. And as you can see, can't figure out the top border. No, can't do it. We'll have to figure that out once I have more pieces in. And yeah, so there you go. That's what I've done. Total of 25 hours, 20 minutes, 13 hours for this video. I don't know if I can finish it in just one more video. I have a feeling you might get 2 more videos out of this, but I'm going to keep working on it. I'm not going to do a different video on a different topic. But overall, I think she's come along pretty good. Sorry, I see you can see all the chairs and the lights and everything in the way. It just goes to show how big this monster is. Let's see if I can get on top of a chair without breaking my neck here. Oh my goodness. Can see some puzzles over there. Puzzles everywhere. Okay, oh, we're up. We're up. Can we get a good... There you go, somewhat of a good overhead view. I'm literally almost up to the ceiling. I can't even tell if it's all in frame, but yeah, there you go. So that's how much I've done. It does look stunning, it does. I have a feeling since the first bag took me 44 hours, I'm gonna need maybe 2 more videos. But that's okay, because I haven't worked 15 hours either video. I've just been so busy. But yeah, what do you think? Oh my goodness. I definitely have pieces from the Lincoln Memorial that are probably with the stone areas, maybe with the Christ the Redeemer monument as well as the sky. Missing like just a few pieces from the Statue of Liberty. But yeah, these brown pieces, I think I'm just getting tired. It was taking too long. I just need a break for a day. I'll go edit this video, do the voiceover, and hopefully you'll all enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. For the love of puzzles, I hope you enjoy my videos. Please consider subscribing, and until next time, ciao!